Good morning. This is X-Pulse AI Morning Mix. Today is Friday, May 8th, 2026. We're digging into Anthropic's new compute play with SpaceX, the White House's evolving stance on model oversight, and a couple of telling moves in consumer AI and infrastructure. I've got Orion here, ready to jump in?
Ready, let's do it.
Reuters reported on May 6th that Anthropic struck a compute deal with SpaceX's Colossus data center and used its developer day to unveil new agent features. What did they announce, Orion?
Two big threads. First, Anthropic says it'll run workloads on SpaceX's Colossus to ease capacity constraints. Basically, more compute for booming demand around Claude coding and agent products. Second, it previewed new agent capabilities, including a dreaming self-improvement feature and finance-focused agents aimed at enterprises.
That dreaming phrase sounds either genius or terrifying. What is it in plain English?
As described, it's an agent improvement loop. Time set aside to reflect on prior work, synthesize lessons, and update how it approaches tasks. The sober version is offline learning for workflows. The hype version is, yes, your assistant staring out a window thinking about life.
And the finance agents, what kind of buyer are they going after?
Large enterprises that want domain-tuned automation, reporting, analysis, controls, and the paperwork around finance operations. The bigger signal is packaging. Anthropic is saying, we're not just a model API, we're shipping role-specific agents, and the SpaceX compute deal helps them actually deliver it at scale.
So the quiet subtext is, compute is still the choke point.
Exactly. The frontier race isn't only model quality, it's who can secure enough reliable capacity to keep agents responsive when real customers hammer them all day.
Politico reported on May 7th that the White House is distancing itself from tighter AI regulation, while also considering a vetting system for frontier models. What's going on?
A senior official emphasized partnership with AI companies over heavy regulation. But in parallel, officials are reportedly discussing a pre-release review process. Major developers like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google potentially submitting frontier models for government review before release, with comparisons to Food and Drug Administration-style testing.
Is that regulation by another name or something narrower?
It can be narrower, depending on scope, which models qualify, what evidence is required, and whether review is mandatory or voluntary in practice. The motivation here is security concerns. Politico mentions worries around models like Anthropic's Mythos, so think risk gating more than rules for every app.
If a vetting system happens, what changes first, model launches or how they're messaged?
Launch cadence and disclosure. You'd likely see more staged rollouts, more red team documentation, and more pressure to demonstrate controls. Also, the best resourced labs handle it more easily. Paperwork is a moat, which is a very unromantic sentence.
Does this push companies to slow down or to get better at proving safety fast?
Mostly the second. The competitive advantage becomes ship quickly while producing credible evidence. You're not shipping a security incident.
On the consumer side, AP News reported on May 6th that Apple agreed to a $250 million settlement over Siri A.I. advertising claims. What are the allegations?
The class action claimed Apple misrepresented Siri's AI capabilities and the availability of certain features, essentially advertising that implied users would have features on recent iPhone models that weren't actually there or weren't delivered as presented. Apple says it's settled to focus on product development.
Is this mainly about money or about credibility?
Credibility. $250 million is real, but the bigger cost is user trust. Consumer AI is already a magnet for inflated expectations. This settlement is a reminder that marketing language is becoming legal risk, not just brand risk.
So the era of "we'll patch the promise later" is getting expensive.
Right, and it nudges everyone toward more precise claims, more explicit feature timelines, and fewer magical demo vibes.
CNBC reported on May 7th that data center operator IREN is deploying up to 5 gigawatts of NVIDIA DSX infrastructure designs, and it granted NVIDIA share purchase rights. What stands out?
Scale and alignment. 5 gigawatts is enormous capacity planning, and IREN gave NVIDIA a 5-year right to purchase up to 30 million ordinary shares at an agreed exercise price. So NVIDIA isn't just selling designs, it's tying itself financially to an operator building at massive scale.
Does this suggest NVIDIA is becoming an infrastructure brand, not only a chip supplier?
Yes, DSX-style reference designs turn NVIDIA into the template for how to build the factory, not just what machines to buy. It helps standardize deployments, lock in ecosystem choices, and speed buildouts when demand is outrunning electricians and cooling engineers.
In other words, the GPUs are famous, but the bottleneck is the building.
Exactly. You can't ship compute on a slide deck, though plenty of people try.
Let's hit a few other moves quickly, starting with how these models are getting delivered in the real world.
CIO wrote on May 6 that OpenAI and Anthropic are pushing beyond pilots into full enterprise services, tie-ups, possible acquisitions of services firms, and more hands-on deployment support. And the Decoder reported May 6 that Google and Meta are internally testing personal AI agents, Remy and Hatch, with Google pausing its browser agent Mariner to refocus.
Hold that thought. 2 funding notes. The information on May 7th, IREN Control Systems at a $2 billion valuation, Tech.eu on May 6th, QTWO at €325 million. What do they actually do?
IREN Control Systems is building an autonomous weapons station aimed at countering drones, and it's reportedly seeking new funding around a $2 billion pre-money valuation, per the information on May 7th. QTWO is Peter Sarlin's AI and quantum-themed enterprise platform effort. Tech.eu says it hit a €325 million valuation with €25 million raised and €20 million in contracted revenue.
And before we go, security and healthcare adoption got a couple of very real-world constraints reminders.
FinTech Global reported May 8th that Boost Security raised $4 million and acquired SecureIQX and Corbit.ai to expand AI-native software development lifecycle defenses. Hit Consultant reported May 7th that Artera is launching an AI services model with small agentic squads embedded with clinics. And Punch reported May 7th that Schneider Electric is warning power, cooling, and data systems could bottleneck healthcare AI adoption.
That's XPulse AI Morning Mix from XPulse for Friday, May 8th, 2026. If this helped, share it with a colleague who's building with AI, and we'll catch you next time.